In 1488, workers in Siena Cathedral set a marble mosaic into the floor just inside the central entrance. It was crafted by Giovanni di Stefano, one of the most respected artists in Italy at the time. The mosaic shows an elderly man seated on a throne, handing a tablet of wisdom to two figures, one from the east, one from the west. Carved beneath him in Latin are these words: Hermes Mercurius Trismegistus, contemporaneus Moisi. Hermes Mercurius Trismegistus, contemporary of Moses. This was not carved by a fringe cult, not hidden in a basement. It was set into the floor of a cathedral the church itself commissioned, in full view of anyone who walked through the doors. And the men who authorized it, the same institution that burned people for heresy, believed what it said was true. For more than a century after that mosaic was laid, virtually every serious thinker in Western civilization agreed. Augustine of Hippo referenced Hermes in the City of God. Lactantius, the 4th century Christian scholar, cited him as a pagan prophet who foresaw Christianity. Marsilio Ficino, who translated both Plato and the Hermetic texts for Cosimo de' Medici, considered Hermes the starting point of all theology. Giovanni Pico della Mirandola ranked him above Plato. And Giordano Bruno built the core of his cosmological worldview on Hermetic philosophy. They all shared a belief called the Prisca Theologia, the ancient theology, the idea that a single divine wisdom had been given to humanity at the beginning of time and handed down through a chain of teachers. The chain went like this: Hermes first, then Zoroaster, then Pythagoras, then Plato. Moses ran alongside the chain, the Hebrew prophet and the Egyptian sage believed to be exact contemporaries, drawing from the same original source. If the Prisca Theologia was real, then everything Western civilization ever thought, built, or believed could trace back to one figure. Today I'm pulling 3 threads: the Moses connection, what people believed and why; the Plato connection, what the texts actually say; and the thread nobody expected, the CIA. Chapter 1. What Hermes Trismegistus actually was. Modern scholarship is clear on this. Hermes Trismegistus is not a historical person the way Moses or Plato was. He is a Hellenistic synthesis, a figure born from the collision of 2 great civilizations. When Alexander the Great conquered Egypt in 332 BCE, 2 traditions met in Alexandria. The Greek world had Hermes, messenger of the gods, guide of souls through the underworld, patron of language and communication. The Egyptian world had Thoth, the ibis-headed god of writing, wisdom, medicine, and astronomy. The Egyptians had venerated Thoth since at least 3000 BCE. He was credited with inventing hieroglyphs, the calendar, and the true names of all things. When those 2 civilizations merged in Ptolemaic Egypt, Hermes and Thoth were formally identified as the same god. From that fusion came Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice greatest. The title echoes a hieroglyphic epithet of Thoth found at the Temple of Esna: great, 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 an Egyptian superlative meaning the supreme above all. The texts attributed to this figure, the Hermetica, were written in Greek in Roman Egypt, approximately 100 to 300 CE. Harvard's Center for the Study of World Religions places them there. The most important collection is the Corpus Hermeticum, 17 philosophical dialogues. The first and most celebrated is Poimandres, the mind of sovereignty. At the core of these texts are 2 ideas that we're tracking all the way into a classified government document. The first is mentalism. The Poimandres opens with a cosmogonic vision in which divine mind, nous, is the source from which all of physical reality proceeds. Consciousness does not emerge from matter. Matter emerges from consciousness. The universe is fundamentally mental, not material. Everything you see, touch, and measure is a projection of mind. The second is correspondence. It is best known from the Emerald Tablet, a text attributed to Hermes, whose oldest known version appears in an Arabic source from the 8th or 9th century CE. That Arabic text was translated into Latin in the 12th century, and from there spread across Europe. Isaac Newton, the man who gave us calculus, the laws of motion, and universal gravitation, personally translated the Emerald Tablet into English around 1680. His translation is archived at King's College Library, Cambridge. It reads, "That which is below is like that which is above, and that which is above is like that which is below, to do the miracles of one only thing. As above, so below." The individual reflects the universal. The micro mirrors the macro. What is true at one scale of reality is true at every scale. Newton wrote approximately 1 million words on alchemy and the Hermetic tradition, documented by the Chemistry of Isaac Newton project at Indiana University. 1 million words, from the man who invented modern physics. We'll come back to Newton, because what he did with those ideas is the most surprising part of this story. Chapter 2. What Plato actually said about Egypt. Most summaries of Plato leave something out. In two of his most important dialogues, Plato explicitly credits Egypt as the origin of foundational knowledge. In the Phaedrus, written around 370 BCE, Socrates describes a conversation in which the Egyptian god Thoth, the prototype of Hermes Trismegistus, is said to have invented numbers, arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and writing itself. Plato names him directly. He frames Thoth as the original teacher of the disciplines that Greek civilization was built on. In the Timaeus, written around 360 BCE, the Greek lawgiver Solon travels to Egypt and speaks with the priests there. And they say this to him: "O Solon, Solon, you Greeks are always children. There is not such a thing as an old Greek." When Solon asks what they mean, the priest tells him that Egyptian traditions are so ancient that compared to them, Greek civilization is an infant. Plato wrote both passages. They are in the primary texts. These are not fringe interpretations. Now look at the structural parallels between Platonic philosophy and Hermetic thought. In Plato's Timaeus, a divine craftsman called the demiurge creates the physical world by contemplating eternal forms, perfect, non-material archetypes that exist beyond the physical plane. The visible world is an imperfect copy of those forms. Reality proceeds from an immaterial, higher dimension of pure archetype downward into matter. In the Corpus Hermeticum, the divine mind, nous, projects physical reality from itself through a medium into apparent form. Physical existence proceeds from an immaterial source. The visible world is what the invisible produces. Art historian Whitney Davis at UC Berkeley argued in 1979 paper Plato on Egyptian art that Plato's theory of forms shows far-reaching and profound connections with Egyptian metaphysical thought, where reality was understood as a set of divine archetypes or words projected into the physical plane. Egyptologist John Assmann later described a pre-theoretical Platonism embedded in the Egyptian priestly tradition long before Plato wrote a word. When Ficino placed the Corpus Hermeticum next to Plato in 1463, he was not forcing a connection. He was recognizing a structural overlap that had been noticed across centuries. Two texts, different origins, describing the same architecture of reality. Chapter 3. The year everything collapsed, and the man who proved it didn't matter. 1614. A classical scholar named Isaac Casaubon published a linguistic analysis of the Hermetic texts. His finding was decisive. The Corpus Hermeticum was written in Koine Greek, a form of the language that didn't exist until after Alexander the Great's campaigns, after 323 BCE. The texts could not be older than Plato. They could not be contemporaneous with Moses. They were written during the early centuries of the Common Era by anonymous Greek-speaking authors in Roman Egypt, drawing on Platonic, Stoic, Jewish, and Persian philosophical traditions. The Prisca Theologia collapsed. The Sievna Cathedral mosaic was wrong. 130 years of belief had been built on a dating error. Casaubon had proved it with grammar. 14 years before Casaubon published that analysis, Giordano Bruno had been burned alive in Rome's Campo dei Fiori. Bruno was charged with theological heresies, including denial of Christ's divinity, denial of the Trinity, and denial of transubstantiation. But his cosmological views, including his conviction that the universe is infinite and populated by countless other worlds, grew directly from his Hermetic philosophy. He was not prosecuted for Hermeticism as a label, but the ideas that got him killed were ideas the Hermetic tradition had shaped. He died for a worldview built on Hermetic foundations. 14 years before Casaubon proved those foundations rested on a mistaken date. And then there is Newton. Isaac Newton was born in 1643, 16 years after Casaubon's demolition of the Prisca Theologia. He knew the historical argument was dead, and he still wrote approximately 1 million words on alchemy and the Hermetic tradition. After Newton's death in 1727, his heirs discovered the full extent of what he had been doing in private. Among his papers were 169 books on alchemy, at the time considered one of the finest alchemical library in the world. His manuscripts on alchemy, theology, and prophecy were kept private by embarrassed executors. They were not publicly revealed until 1936, when they were auctioned at Sotheby's in London, 209 years after Newton's death. The economist John Maynard Keynes bought the largest portion at that auction. After reading them, Keynes delivered a lecture in 1946 titled, "Newton, the Man." His conclusion was precise. Newton was not the first of the Age of Reason. He was the last of the magicians. Newton did not see a contradiction between the Hermetic tradition and his scientific investigations. He personally translated the Emerald Tablet, "That which is below is like that which is above," before he published most of his major scientific work. And then he demonstrated mathematically that the same gravity pulling an apple from a tree is the identical force keeping the moon in orbit around the Earth. The same law, operating at every scale of reality. As above, so below, expressed as an equation. Casaubon killed the historical claim. Newton built the scientific revolution on top of the philosophical principles underneath it. Chapter 4. What the CIA document actually says. June 9, 1983. Commander Wayne M. McDonnell, U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command. A classified report titled Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process. Document CIA RDP 96, declassified in 2003, available today on the CIA's FOIA electronic reading room. McDonnell was assessing the Monroe Institute's Gateway Experience, a program using binaural audio tones to induce altered states of consciousness. The Army wanted to know whether it had scientific validity and military applications. What McDonnell produced was a 29-page investigation that moved through quantum mechanics, holographic physics, and consciousness research. The conclusions he reached trace the same architecture as the Hermetic tradition, from a completely independent direction, working from physics, not philosophy. The document's section 14 is titled The Consciousness Matrix. It states that the universe is one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity. It describes consciousness as attuning to the universal field through energy exchange. Energy, it states, creates, stores, and retrieves meaning by projecting at certain frequencies throughout the universe. And it concludes, citing Karl Pribram at Stanford and David Bohm at the University of London, that the human mind is a hologram which attunes itself to the universal hologram by the medium of energy exchange, thereby deducing meaning and achieving the state which we call consciousness. Now read the Corpus Hermeticum, Tractate 1, written approximately 200 CE. The divine mind, nous, is the source from which all of physical reality proceeds. Individual human consciousness is a portion of that same mind, temporarily enclosed in matter, capable of aligning with its source through the right kind of inner orientation. In Tractate 11, the text says, "All things are in God, not as lying in a place, but as contained in the living power of God." Individual mind attuning to universal mind. The part resonating with the whole. Now apply correspondence. As above, so below. The micro reflects the macro. The individual consciousness maps onto universal consciousness. The same law at every scale. McDonnell's 1983 Army document describes this architecture from physics. The Hermetic texts describe it from mystical vision in Roman Egypt. The vocabulary is completely different. The model is structurally identical. The document also quotes psychologist Keith Floyd directly. Contrary to what everyone knows is so, it may not be the brain that produces consciousness, but rather consciousness that creates the appearance of the brain. The Hermetic mentalism principle from Tractate 1 of the Poimandres. The all is mind. The universe is mental. Consciousness is not produced by matter. Matter is produced by consciousness, two sources, separated by 1,800 years. One arrived through classified military intelligence. One arrived through anonymous mystical vision in Roman Egypt. Same claim. Chapter 5. The question Casaubon could not answer. Here is what this investigation actually shows. Hermes Trismegistus was not a historical teacher who personally instructed Moses and Plato. Isaac Casaubon established that conclusively in 1614. The texts are Roman-era Greek compositions, 100 to 300 CE. Modern scholarship confirms this and has not seriously revised it. But that is not the question worth asking. The question worth asking is why the same model of reality keeps surfacing independently across sources that had no access to each other. Around 360 BCE, Plato writes the Timaeus. He credits Thoth, the Egyptian prototype of Hermes, as the source of geometry, astronomy, and letters. His demiurge creates the physical world by contemplating non-material archetypes, and the visible world is the projection. Reality proceeds from mind. Around 200 CE, anonymous authors in Roman Egypt write the Corpus Hermeticum. The divine mind, nous, projects physical reality from itself through a medium. Physical existence is what consciousness produces. The all is mind. Around 1680, Isaac Newton, working in Cambridge, writing in private, in a language these earlier sources never used, translates the Emerald Tablet and then demonstrates mathematically that the same gravitational law operates identically at every scale of reality. As above, so below. One law, everywhere. In 1983, Commander Wayne McDonnell writes a classified U.S. Army intelligence report. Working from quantum physics and neuroscience, he concludes the universe is a gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity. Individual consciousness attunes to universal consciousness through energy exchange. And quoting Keith Floyd, It may not be the brain that produces consciousness, but consciousness that creates the appearance of the brain. 4 independent arrivals, separated by almost 2,400 years from Plato to the CIA. Different centuries, different disciplines, different languages, different purposes, no transmission between them. The Renaissance scholars were wrong about who Hermes Trismegistus was. But the question they were trying to answer with the Prisca Theologia, why does this same model keep appearing everywhere, was a real question. Casaubon answered the historical problem. He could not answer the philosophical one. If there was no historical teacher transmitting these ideas across 2,400 years, then something else explains the convergence. And nobody, not in 1614, not in 1983, and not today, has fully explained what that something is. The figure carved into the floor of Siena Cathedral in 1488 may not have been who they thought he was. But what he was said to have known, the people who kept rediscovering it wouldn't let go of it. And neither will this investigation.